Hey everybody, Barry at CTech-review. Today, I want to give you some updates, a lot to talk about. Number one, we got to talk about the new AEV Ford FXL Super Duty, the Prospect XL killer, potentially. This truck is a monster, and there's a whole bunch to talk about this, pricing options, how's it going to compare to the Prospect XL, plus some things that really surprised me about the full-size SUV market if you're in that space, as far as where did the year end up in 2025 with sales and where the pricing's at in 2026. And there's another big change I just found with the 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer that I am not stoked about. But it is what it is. We'll talk about that as well. And then I want to talk about where things are at generally with the automotive market. We're going to be going to the North America Auto Show in Detroit this week. So the timing is great because we're going to get to see some of this stuff firsthand. Let's get into this. All right, let's first talk about this new AEV FXL. The proportions of this truck it's just insane. This thing is huge. The first thing I find interesting is look at how different when you change the shape of the fenders. This mimics what you'd see on a GM Silverado or Sierra. Instead of the traditional Ford Super Duty rounded wheel wells, they went with a little bit more squared off, and man, it changes the profile of this truck. This thing's massive. Actually, I've been thinking about this truck since this first was launched. I'm like, man, it's going to be super expensive, which it's going to be very, very expensive. But the thing I like about this is you could custom order your truck any way you do. And this would be a truck I'd tell you I would not order the base truck as a trimmer to start. Let me show you why. If we go over to Ford.com and we build a Super Duty, I'm going to start with a value truck, not a leather interior truck. Let's just go with a more base level. I went XLT. I selected the high output because I'm going to want the biggest power stroke diesel to power these massive 40-inch tires. After that, the only thing I selected was the 355 electronic locking rear diff, a XLT premium package, and the black appearance package. Put you at $83,570. Now, if we were going to select the trimmer package, that would be $4,450 more. Now, if you really want to take this thing off-road, you might probably add a winch on the front of this truck. Okay, so let's see how much a winch is. Another $4,375. So if you select those two options, you're going to be at $91,610 with a trimmer XLT on 35s with a winch. Okay, so we're back to $83,570. Now, if they do what sources are saying they're going to do, the pricing for the FXL package for the 40-inch wheels. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the stamped front steel bumper, okay? You're going to get high clearance rear bumper, high mark fender flares, 4-inch lift kit, AEV tuned Bilstein shocks, 18-inch wheels, 40-inch tires, graphics package, serial badging. If they're saying they're going to do what they're going to do, and they say the price is going to be similar to the Prospect XL, it's going to be a $24,000 option. Now for 24 grand with the Prospector XL, you get all that same sort of stuff. Plus the other thing that's going to be interesting is, are they going to add this hydraulic assist steering upgrade? That's going to be pretty interesting if they do that. My guess is it's going to be pretty similar. It's going to have same stresses. So when you start thinking about this, $24,000 for this setup, and you don't have the trimmer package, which is $4,400, and then the winch, that's $9,000, making this $24,000 option minus the 9 for 15 grand more. You're getting front and rear bumpers. You're going to probably get a 4-inch designed lift kit, maybe a hydraulic assist steering upgrade. You add this 24 grand plus this right here, you're gonna be like $107,000. Is it a lot of money? Absolutely is a ton of money. But when you start thinking about we're at 92, 93,000 for just a trimmer, For just a little bit more, you are going to get an off-road animal. I'm really curious how the handling dynamics have been. I'm a big fan of AEV, guys, and I'll tell you why. I'm not sponsored by AEV. They are a Michigan company. And what I like about these guys is the heart of this nature of this company is they got a lot of experience in OEM engineering and standards that the car manufacturers have. And they know how to make stuff highly engineered. Their products, they're not cheap, but the design that comes into them, it's premium. And there's a reason why General Motors chose them as a partner on the GMC, the AT4Xs. And just for perspective, the AEV edition package on a 2500 HD is a $9,390 option. What do you get? You get front and rear bumpers, floor liners, some little extra badging, a specific wheel. I mean, it's not a ton of stuff and it's 9,400. So you come back to looking at this XL package, the Prospector at 24 grand. It doesn't seem like a bad deal when you start looking at the price of 40-inch tires and wheel upgrades and everything. I think this thing's going to be incredible. And just you add in the engineering that goes in. I'm telling you, AEV does really legit work. They really don't have a lot of competitors in this space in this overlanding. I love the fit and finish. It very much reminds me of their design features of like the ARB bumpers that you used to just see designed for Wranglers and everything. So this looks really slick. I also like how they incorporated the rear step on the rear bumper. I think that's really cool. Yeah, this is going to be a real serious setup. So anyhow, when you start looking at the pricing of this thing, if this thing truly comes in at, let's call it $107,000 range, and we compare this to a GMC HD, this doesn't even have the, this one does have the diesel engine, $98,000 for a GMC Sierra AEV edition. And that's on 35-inch tires, not 40-inch tires. When you start thinking that maybe that'd be like 110 grand, 13 grand more, and you're on 40s with the high clearance fenders and everything of this, I don't think it's a bad deal. And I bet you're going to see a lot of these things ordered. Now, the next thing that really surprised me, GM showed a 7% slip during the fourth quarter of this year. That's a big decline. Okay. Some of their sales are down, but if you look at GM's earnings for the last year, this is unprecedented. 63% growth in 1 year. How can they do this with the engine recall? One of the worst recalls is General Motors has had on the L87 with the 6.2 liter, yet their growth is insane. And then compare this to Ford. Ford's up 44%. These are huge, huge numbers. Now, let me ask you guys, you watch the channel. Maybe you're a Ford guy, maybe you're a GM person, maybe you're a Ram person. When you go and look at the options on these vehicles today, do you see the value in the GMC where you're like, man, I'm buying a new GMC. I think it's the best value truck, or a new Silverado, or a new Ford, or a new Ram? Tell me with your money, which vehicle brand gives you the best value when you go to buy a truck right now? Now let's compare this to Stellantis. Stellantis stock price is down 14.5% over the last year. It's not a good picture. I drive a Ram truck, but I still think personally, the Ram provides the best value, even though the company is definitely taking it in the tailpipe right now. Next thing I want to share with you guys, the Car Guy Online has came up with a really cool website, a vehicle dashboard where you can select any sort of vehicle, make and model. You can go just like this, select any year, and there's a really cool sheet where you can select complaints per year. And I want to show you guys something right here. We'll go over to Ford. We'll go F-250, and you can break this thing down by what do you want to look at? You want to look at steering, suspension, engine, electrical, and you can look at all the open issues across all these brands. Let's just click on only engine, powertrain, and transmission complaints for the Ford Super Duty. And we look across the last 40 years, you can really see that 1999 was a year they had a lot of issues, and you can kind of see where things are hovering. And then look in 2020, we see things bump up and then kind of back down a little bit. Now that's comparing all issues, or sorry, that was just powertrain. This is issues across the board. You can see 17 and 19 was a crazy year. This is a really cool website. Check out our friend Car Guy Online site he's developed, and this is for all of us to use. Very cool. It incorporates pulling data from NHSTA and other sites. So this is really neat. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out and seeing, and you can look at this data and say, what are years maybe you want to steer away from? What are years you don't? As an example, I know he likes giving Toyota a pretty hard time. Let's look at where the Tundra stands here. Here's the Tundra in complaints. Now let's look at powertrain and see how this aligns with the engine issues we've seen. And you can kind of see each year it's getting a little bit better. But it is kind of interesting that the 2025 number of complaints, then all the way back to 2013 on the Tundra. So this just kind of proves by data, this is all real data. And this helps you look at what years would you maybe want to steer away from. You're buying new, you're buying used. It's a great website he put together. So let's talk about pricing and reliability, because this has been a big deal. When we look at 2025 versus 2024, we saw an increase in new vehicle sales. Why is this a big deal? Prices are going to continue to go up on vehicles if people are still continuing to keep buying more and more. If you see it plateau a little bit or drop, prices will also drop or stabilize. But as we saw a 2% increase from 2024 to 2025, I'm not surprised when we see price increases going up. Let's segue this into a shocker that really surprised me. This is a truck channel. We focus on truck stuff, but I also look for trends. One of the trends I saw was the trends on full-size SUVs. We're talking Tahoes, Suburbans, Escalades, Yukons, Sequoias, Nissan Armadas, Jeep Grand Wagoneers, Ford Expeditions, Navigators. Check out this data, guys, over at GM Authority. This blew my mind. Every single model except one, their sales numbers went up year over year. In fact, the number that blew my mind is right here. In 1 year, the overall growth of the market went up 12.5%. That is insane. The Tahoe was up 19%, Suburban 39%, Expedition was up 14%, Yukon was up 15%, Wagoneer down 19%, Sequoia down 4%, Armada up 1.6%. And this article kind of talks about the new redesigned Expedition. Not surprised to see growth up. I think where a lot of people were surprised is that the Tahoe and Suburban and Yukon sales were up based on some of the quality issues we've seen around the L87 6.2 liter V8, as well as some of the issues around the 3-liter diesel. But the one that I think to keep your eyes on for 2026, it won't be General Motors and it won't be Ford. It's going to be the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, guys, because when you start looking at the starting price of a Jeep Grand Wagoneer, these things start at $63,000. These Yukons and Tahoes and Suburbans, these things are starting at a lot more money than those. They're nice vehicles, don't get me wrong, but they're considered more expensive. Then add in dealerships getting aggressive on price. Go price a new Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon. There's hardly any discounts. You might get $1,000 or $2,000. Expedition, maybe $5,000, $8,000, but it's nothing compared to what discounts you can see as far as dealers getting aggressive on the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. This is an SUV I think you're going to see more and more people pushing towards, because in the full-size SUV segment, when you look at where your dollar gets you, I think this is a good value, and I've talked about this. You know, I'm a big fan of the Hurricane engine. I think this motor seems to be reliable so far in the Ram 1500, and it made changes ever since 24 model year in the thermostat. So that issue seems to have gone away. You don't hear about it. But now for 2026, this will be the 4th model year with that engine. But there's some big changes for the 2026 Grand Wagoneer, and one of them just came across my plate yesterday that I'm not extremely excited about. Here's the first one. Most of us know that for 2025, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, one of the differentiators between the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer was you got the high output Hurricane engine, which is the same engine that is in the RHO and the Tungsten and some of the higher trim level Ram 1500s. I'm a big fan of that motor. It seems to be built really well, forged internals. It's a beast. Problem is that engine went away for 2026. You can no longer get the high output Hurricane engine in the Grand Wagoneer. For me, it's not a big deal. If I was going to get one, I'd take the better fuel economy and the day-to-day drivability. I actually like a little bit more of the standard output Hurricane in this vehicle. But here's the next one that to me is a big bummer. When you think about these premium luxury SUVs, whether it be GMC Toyotas, Sequoias, Lexuses, Expedition Navigators, all these vehicles right here, when you think about these vehicles, one of the big premium features you think about is technology. And in that technology, I think of hands-free driving. Guys, unfortunately, at the time of doing this video, and I'm going to show you this live, there is no way. I'll go all the way up to the highest level, Grand Wagoneer Summit. There is no way to get hands-free driving on a 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. And I'm going to show you, if we go into, geez, oh Pete's, all these little forms, we go all the way into here, safety and security. And we look at this right here, safety and security, active driving assist system, active lane management. This is like lane centering, and it works really well. Ford's been doing like Copilot 360 2.0. Those systems work well, but they're not hands-free driving. You still have to drive the vehicle down the road. Whereas the RHO has hands-free active driving assist system. I've looked through every one of these build configurators for the 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and I am not seeing an option to have true hands-free driving. So then I said, well, let's look into see what other brands are out there and do they offer hands-free driving? And you know what surprised me? You can't get a full hands-free driving in a 2026 Toyota Sequoia either. You can get lane assist, like a lane keeping, but you cannot get hands-free driving. So if you are in the market for a full-size SUV, and that is a big deal, you're going to have to go Tahoe, I think Premier, Suburban Premier, Expedition. It comes standard across the board. You just have to pay for the service. I like that. You can get it on the Yukon Denali at the higher levels, like the Super Cruise, but you can't get it on the Wagoneer. You can't get it on the Sequoia, and you can get it as an option on some of the Nissan Armadas. So this is kind of a bummer for me. We do lots of long road trips, and I've been very impressed with how well my hands-free driving in my Ram RHO works. So if I were to get a full-size SUV, I'd be losing that option. But they're just doing the exact same thing as Toyota. So I'd be curious to get your guys' thoughts. What do you think about the new AEV FXL? Do you think this thing is going to be bad to the bone? Are they going to do the hydraulic assist steering? Are they going to offer an aftermarket selectable front locker for the people that are going to do the true overlanding and push these things to the limits? I think this thing is bad. I can't wait to see one in person. These guys are not that far from me, so I'm going to be going up there soon and checking this out. I really like this new look. It really changes the side profile on this thing, and I cannot wait to see this in person. It's going to be a monster. Hey guys, hope you enjoy the video. We got more fun stuff to come. If you're interested in buying any merchandise from CTech-review, we are finally going to be rolling this out. Thanks for watching.